Yo, what is up guys, and welcome to another Wild Rift video. Today I'm going to be giving you all the ultimate tier list for every single role in the game. The last tier list I made was like a month ago, I think even 1.5 months ago, and it's ridiculous how much changes in these short periods of time. And you know what it is? You know what the crazy thing is? It's not just the buffs and the nerfs that sort of adjust things in the tier list. You know, sometimes like when a random content creator or like a random pro player or just literally a random player suddenly figures out a certain champion is way better than he or she actually is. And then suddenly everyone is going to play that champion all the time. And then suddenly something goes from like the C tier all the way up to like the S tier, S plus tier, etc. And those are the interesting things that occur quite often actually. So we're going to talk about all of that. The timestamps are in the description for every single role in the game. But first, I got a quick message for you guys to get you to the broken tier as well. It only takes a couple of weeks to transform your life. Don't believe me? Here's what I did in 8 weeks. At Player vs Fitness, we're going to give you fully personalized coaching that is going to be very easy to follow to get you towards your goals and beyond. The reason I'm saying and beyond is because I never thought I could ever look like this. This transformation took 5 months, by the way. I mean, I love doing this now. So it's not just me. Many people have joined before. And here you can see they have all gotten tremendous results joining the Player vs Fitness program, and you can be next. We're launching a special 8-week challenge at a temporary discounted price, and whoever is able to get the best results within these 8 weeks is gonna win an additional 8 weeks of coaching for free. All you have to do to enter is just fill in the form below. We're gonna reach out to you to book a meeting and absolutely transform your life. You have until the 6th of September to apply. Alright, so let's get started. First things first, Mordekaiser. I am probably gonna call Mordekaiser Aatrox quite often. I don't know why, but he gives Aatrox vibes, but he is completely broken. I was only able to get him one time, and it is truly ridiculous how broken he is. He does a lot of magic damage. You buy Riftmaker, so you heal like crazy, okay? He takes down tanks like they're nothing. While he takes down tanks, he's gonna heal like crazy because of the Riftmaker. He can isolate a target whenever he wants, wherever he wants, okay? And then on top of all of this, you can just build tank. And his second ability, Shield, is so unbelievably obnoxious in the later stages of the game. There's no real counter to Aatrox. The only thing you can actually do, well, I'm saying no real, but there's actually one thing. You can destroy him early game, perhaps. Like if you really beat him down early game and keep stomping him, he's not going to be very useful in the later stages of the game. But if you allow him to get to the late game, it's absolutely game over. He wins almost every lane matchup as well. He can easily pull you in and poke you. It's just an absolute hell to be playing as Mordekaiser. And a bit controversial, but I've placed Darius in the broken tier as well. He has good reasons, because I've played a lot of Darius actually in this patch. I was working on a Darius video, which I honestly have abandoned for now. I don't know if I'm gonna get back to it, but he's just always good. He's always a good pick. You know, you can build against any comp. You can go hard steal against a lot of melees. You can just go Trinity Force and just full damage against squishies. You can buy movement speed items, movement speed runes, movement speed anything to catch up to squishies. You can go tank against sustain damage. You can go Starrick's Cage against burst damage. You can go Death's Dance against attack damage. All of these things are viable on him, and all of these things work. And he is so good, especially with that recent change to his ultimate, where if someone dies before you ult him, you just get it back. It's so broken. It is so crazy. By the way, sorry if I move my head around a lot. I didn't sleep well on my neck and my back, so it hurts like crazy. So I constantly am readjusting it. Next up is Garen. You know, almost broken tier. I don't understand how he's not picked every game. I just don't understand. Literally just go hardstyle and build whatever you want, and you're gonna be a menace to the enemy team. Next up is Gwen. Gwen is this, see, you know, Gwen is that champion that I was talking about, where like, if no one plays her, no one plays her, but she's always broken. She has always been broken. Now, obviously, there are some things that are good against her. Like Mordekaiser is actually quite good into Gwen, because he likes to build magic resist, and when Gwen gets up close with him, he honestly should beat her. But like, in general, Gwen is just completely broken top lane. She beats any tank. Late game, she can absolutely 1v9. It's just her early game that's a little bit weak, but even that, she's like okay early game. Now, someone that isn't weak early game is Renekton, guys. Renekton is extremely powerful early game, but I really want to say he's overrated. I've probably overrated him as well. You know, I would probably actually place him more like here, for the simple reason that like he's good in 1v1s and whatnot. But I really feel like you can't snowball well with him. You know, if you look at all of these other champions like Mordekaiser, Darius, Riven, Gragas, Camille, Garen, these champions can like truly carry the game. Now, obviously, Renekton can do a great job as well, but like, I just don't feel like after you've dived the enemy with your third ability, you've killed like their backline with your empowered abilities, after you don't have any more fury, I just feel like he kind of falls off. And he's not just going to be able to keep stomping the enemy over and over again in that same team fight. And especially if you're against a lot of tanky opponents, he really doesn't have much against tanks. You know, of course you can build Blade of the Rune King. Of course it works to chunk down the tanks. But like, how do you finish them off, right? Like, that's a bit of a problem with Renekton. Fiora is going under the radar as well. No one is playing her. No one. But she is S+ tier, guys. She got a buff recently as well. She's very powerful. You know, with the removal of the Hull Breaker, it definitely hurt her, but she's still extremely good. She's very good at split pushing, winning 1v1s. You can just pick her whenever and she's going to be really good. Gragas also going a bit under the radar, but still very much a strong pick. The only problem he will have in the Baron lane is he doesn't really win many of the matchups anymore. AP Gragas used to be an extremely strong Baron laner because his first ability just did so much damage, but along the years, it just feels like AP Gragas has just kind of fallen off. But he's still very good. He's still very good. You know, with all the new items and everything, it just kind of counters Gragas. That's how it works. Camille, very strong. You can pick her whenever you want. She destroys tanks. She can dive backlines. The only thing she just needs to do is just skill to the late game. But she has a bit of a, not necessarily similar to Renekton problem, because she can definitely 1v9. But like, when you dive the enemy team, you ult the enemy backline, there are just so many tools currently available in the game that sort of counter it. Like things that can push you out of your ult, you know, even a Mordekaiser that's gonna ult you. There are just so many new champions, so many new items, so many new things that just counter Camille. And again, she's S+ tier, don't get me wrong, but this is the reason why she's not like top of S+ tier and whatnot. Ornn is okay. You know what I noticed with the recent update? That any tank that likes to go for Sunfire Aegis or like any sort of over time burning type of damage, so like Sunfire Aegis and that other item, what is it called? There's this other item that burns the enemies as well. I'm sure you guys know which one I'm talking about, the one that gives you armor too. Any champion that goes for those items just fell off hard, like hard. And I'm trying to figure out why. Like, why are these items not that strong anymore? Is it? I think it's because all of the other new items are just so much better and they just counter the tanks. Oh, it's actually true. Because Thunderous Sky heals you based on max HP. And then you have that Eclipse item as well that gives you shield packs on based on max HP. So if an enemy has a Sunfire Aegis, and you just buy one of those items, you're always going to come out on top. The Sunfire Aegis just doesn't do enough anymore. So Ornn, who always builds Sunfire Aegis, is unfortunately just not going to be that strong anymore. You're going to have to build Heartsteel, which is a bit suboptimal because for him it's a little bit difficult to pop the Heartsteels. But he's still, again, S+ tier. Maokai, he's okay. You know, I think he got nerfed recently. At least he doesn't feel as strong as he used to be. But he's okay. He's like an okay Baron lane. As a tank, you don't want to build him AP. You just want to go tank. He's okay. Yeah, he got nerfed actually. His first ability does less damage now. But he's okay. He can dive backlines really well. He has great engaging with his ultimate. Just overall an okay pick. Set, also okay. With the new items and everything, it feels like it indirectly nerfed Set as well. Some things just can't be explained, but he's just okay as well. Now Yone, the reason that Yone is in S+ tier is because I'm a big fan of Yone Baron lane. Big fan. I always pick it. He's like the one pick that counters tanks, and he can carry the game. So you just pick Yone in the Baron lane. All you do is just build a Blade of the Rune King. Literally just build a Blade of the Rune King. And no tank will be able to fight you at all. If you want to go a step further, you can buy a Divine Sunderer as well. Sorry, if the enemy jungler is like a tank as well, just buy Divine Sunderer as well. And you're like the absolute giga tank destroyer. Vladimir is fine, although Vladimir does have some counters. You gotta be a little bit careful of champions that can lock you down. But if that's not the case, you can just constantly bully them and just win. But he's bottom as plus tier because there are counters to it. If a champion can just catch you after you use your second ability. Volibear top is extremely underrated as well. You know how many times I got destroyed by a Volibear while playing top lane? It's way too many times actually. Like I was playing Darius and a Volibear just winning against me early game. If you're just good with hitting the third ability early on in the game, you'll pretty much win every 1v1. And then in the later stages of the game, after you've won the early game, you can just dive the enemy turret with your ultimate whenever is suitable for you. When your jungler ganks, again you dive the turret. And then late game he falls off a little bit, but you should be able to get yourself so ahead that it doesn't really matter much. Akali Baron lane also very, very good. Not quite as plus tier, but like definitely close to the S plus tier. And the reason is, she just doesn't do that well against tanks. Until you get like a Rift Maker and you kind of have to go Conqueror against tanks, and Akali loves to go Electrocute instead. Baron lane is just not really made for Akali anymore. The old Akali, sure, like the Akali from 2-3 years ago. But the new Akali, no. She's made for mid lane. She's extremely good mid lane. You'll see. By the way, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like. At some point, I'll make a challenge. Like if this video reaches 1,000 likes, I'm going to make like a funny video. We'll see what it's going to be. I'll think about it later on in this video. So Aatrox top, also a bit overrated, I would say. Definitely not as good as a lot of people think. He doesn't really beat any bruisers. The new items don't work well with him, and he's just overall not a very strong champion right now. Jax top also, he's okay, but really nothing special. You know, you never play AP Jax top, by the way, but normal Jax, it's like okay. It's definitely not bad, but it's just really nothing special. Malphite, AP, I love playing AP Malphite. If you're against a very squishy composition, AP Malphite is always a good pick, just to kill whoever you want. But the annoying thing is, of course, with that item, what is it called? The Edge of Night for magic damage items. I forget sometimes what these items are called. Oh, like I'll probably remember in like 5 minutes, but whatever. So that kind of counters him, and it's a little bit annoying. But even tank Malphite is actually quite good, but not the best because again, Sunfire Aegis kind of sucks right now. Yasuo top, definitely not as good as Yone. Even if you go Bladed Rune King, Yasuo is not going to be able to bully the enemy as much as a Yone, because Yone can use his third ability, bully, and then go back. While Yasuo, he can only dash through the minions, but if you just get caught and slowed, it's going to be very difficult to escape. You don't have that third ability that Yone does to just run away. Mundo, yet again, you know, you're forced to go for Heartsteel on Mundo now, which is okay. Like, don't get me wrong, it's definitely okay, but like you just can't go Sunfire Aegis. You don't. So Mundo can become very tanky, but the problem arises when you approach the later stages of the game. See, like Mundo can do a lot of damage early game, mid game, and everything, but late game he just does no more damage because you don't have a Sunfire Aegis anymore. Without the Sunfire Aegis, you're just lacking damage. You're gonna be like a walking meatball. They can just hit you all the time and do so much damage, and you're just kind of running around proccing your Heartsteel, not really doing much, just tanking. Shen top lane, very good in competitive and whatnot, but I mean, there is no competitive, but very good if you're like high elo duo queue and everything. But in solo queue, I don't really recommend it. He's okay in 1v1s, he's very strong level 1, but it's just nothing special, unfortunately. Now, Nasus, on the other hand, definitely genuinely playable now. In a sense where even in high elo, you can actually get away with picking Nasus and doing really well in your games. He's very, very strong right now. You know, him getting 5 stacks per minion hit and 10 stacks for a big minion and all of that is so good. It's such a big buff to him. Like, I can see Nasus absolutely steamroll low elo games, like 100%. In high elo, it's a little bit more difficult because he's a bit prone to like fast enemies and CC. So like if the enemies can stun you all the time and they're like very quick, so like a Misfortune or a Caitlyn that's constantly juking you, it can be very annoying as a Nasus. But then again, you can buy Frozen Heart against that and you're gonna be okay. Sion is definitely not that good anymore. He's still playable, he's still good, but then again, you're gonna have to build Heartsteel. Sunfire Aegis just doesn't work anymore. Hullbreaker obviously got removed from the game, so Sion got hit from multiple sides and he's just not that good anymore. Irelia top doesn't really work. She doesn't win 1v1s against bruisers. Keep her in the mid lane. Jace, don't play Jace. Urgot really sucks right now. Teemo is actually better than all of them. Like, Teemo is actually not even bad. I'm not even kidding with you guys. Teemo is genuinely pretty good in the game right now. Nautilus also not the best top laner. Olaf can work in certain drafts if you're like against a lot of CC, against enemies that don't have much mobility, so like you can chase them down and just keep hitting them, boom, 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 over and over again. He's gonna be very good. So like he's a very good counter to Maokai, for example. Why is skill so low? Like sometimes Jarvan is like way worse than this. It should be more like this, yeah. So kill is playable, but it's just really not that strong. You really have to know what you're doing on kill to make it work. And in high elo, you're gonna get punished like crazy. Cannon also sucks right now. He's just really not that strong anymore. Even if you're like super fed, it's so difficult to get that big ultimate now, you know, with exhaust existing, with again that magic damage shield item. What is it called? Oh, I'm gonna go crazy. What is that item called? I actually can't. I'm gonna get so mad when I see the name of the item because I'm gonna be like, oh, Crown of the Shattered Queen. That's the name of the item. I was gonna smash my table, but it's like nearly 1 AM over here, so I don't want to wake up the whole house. Crown of the Shattered Queen. That item counters cannon because you just can't one-shot people anymore because they're gonna have that damage reduction. There we go, finally. And then anything else, you know, never play Singed, by the way. He sucks now. Moving over to the jungle. And yet again, it's your boy, Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser is supposed to be a top laner, Baron laner, but he actually has an extremely fast jungle clear for some apparent reason. You know, the isolated damage of his first ability does so much damage to the red buff and the blue buff and the big fat brown guy, and then his AoE damage does so much damage to the grouped jungle camps. So he clears jungle so quickly. You can just feed yourself. His ganks are also not bad. They're not the best because hitting your third ability is not the most reliable thing. But if you do hit it, it's like almost a guaranteed kill. Now Viego on... my neck, man. Viego on the other hand, very, very strong. Very reliable carry as well. You know, going into the late game too. I mean, I don't really need to explain to you guys how ridiculously strong Viego is right now. He should pretty much be banned every single game. Banned or picked. He's so obnoxiously annoying with that unstoppable ultimate of his, which heals him up as well all the time. He can pick up like another champion, picking up his stats as well. It's just ridiculous what this champion can do. So all you really need to do is just pick up one kill, become untargetable by picking up a soul, and then you'll just have another free ult, which does ridiculous amounts of damage. And you guys have guessed it, AP Jax. I love how like someone tagged me in a video of Royal where Royal was like trash talking me for talking about AP Jax. There was like a random AP Jax in his game that built a Rabadon's Death Cap first item, and then he actually thought that was my build. For some weird reason he thought that, but no, I actually suggest you guys genuinely watch my AP Jax videos because you can steamroll anyone and everyone you want. You're not gonna need 2,000 games to achieve the leaderboards. You can actually achieve them with a lot less games if you play AP Jax with the proper build. Next up is Vi. Vi is so good. So good, and she's like almost broken tier good, if I have to say so. Like, she got buffed, but she didn't need it. She actually didn't need it. She's so strong, and she's another one of those champions that is just so what was I talking about? I was looking at a car. Like, I want to buy a new car, a BMW E30. Beautiful car. That's gonna be my next car. But what was I talking about? Yeah, so Vi was already so strong with the heartsteel, with everything. She has everything. She can take down tanks, take down squishies, chase down anyone. She has everything. Single target damage, late game, tankiness, ganks, one of the fastest jungle clears in the game. What else do you need in a champion? What else do you need? Literally nothing. Like, actually nothing. And then she got buffed as well. So she's just so strong. The thing is, no one picks her. Why? I don't get it. Like, I genuinely don't get this game sometimes. Why does no one pick Vi? I don't understand. She's so strong right now. You know, Lilia, people know about Lilia and everyone picks Lilia. Not as much as they used to, but she's extremely strong as well, obviously, especially against tanks. I don't really need to introduce Lilia much more. Everyone really knows that she's super strong. So I'm going to skip talking about her much. Kha'Zix has been going a bit under the radar as well, but I want to assure you guys, Kha'Zix is still extremely powerful. He does struggle a little bit against the tanks and whatnot, but like, He can still jump around and one-shot everyone. Gwen jungle. This is a very unconventional pick because she is one of the slowest jungle clears in the game, which Jax has as well, by the way, but he's still chilling in the broken tier. But the thing is, once you get at like level 7, 8, 9 plus, she's gonna be okay. She's gonna be fine with her jungle clear, and of course, I don't need to tell you guys how broken Gwen is. Her ganks are very good. Her team fighting is very good. Even early game, as long as you're level 5, you can fight most junglers in a 1v1 and do really, really well against them. Darius jungle, also very, very good. Has a good jungle clear, very, very powerful early game fighting, and of course late game gets very tanky. You can't build Heartsteel on jungle Darius though, which is why I would prefer him on the Baron lane. But still, very, very good jungler. Master Yi. This champion is not supposed to be high up in a tier list. This champion is supposed to be a noob killer, but he actually kills people in high elo as well. Don't ask me why, but he can do it. He's not like broken tier or like top of S plus tier. He's just chilling in the low S plus tier. If he gets a little fed, he can carry the game. If he has a good enchanter support, he can 1v9 the game. It's like a lot of different ways you can just carry the game and steamroll the enemy when you pick Mastery. If the enemy has a lot of CC, just buy a QSS and you're gonna be fine. Evelynn, also going a bit under the radar. For some reason, no one is picking Evelynn anymore. I do say though, Crown of the Shattered Queen does counter Evelynn, but still, she can absolutely one-shot most champions. Very, very powerful champion in the game right now. Riven with the buff and with the changes to her ultimate, very, very powerful. Definitely chilling in the S plus tier right now. She was very weak earlier on, but then she got buffed, and then she got buffed again, and then she got that ultimate change. So now she's actually chilling on the bottom S plus tier. If you're a good Riven, now is your time to shine. Lee Sin in my eyes has fallen off a little bit. He's still very strong, don't get me wrong, but like doesn't seem to fit the meta that well. His ultimate feels a little bit underwhelming. I don't know. His one-shotting potential feels a little bit underwhelming. Of course, his early game ganking is still just as strong as it has always been. His ganking in general is pretty much the strongest in the game. So that's like not necessarily a problem, but he really can't carry much in the later stages of the game anymore. Because there was a moment where he was strong enough when he could actually carry late game, but with all the new items, with all the new changes, with all the new everything, he feels a little bit underwhelming. Gragas jungle is okay, is good jungle clear, great ganks, but he may struggle in the early game to fight other junglers, sorry. He's just not that strong early game during these fights. Like after he does his all in, then what, right? You're genuinely, or you're likely gonna need a phase rush to be able to escape the enemy jungler after you do your full combo on them. If that's the case, perhaps you can actually do something in the jungle, but that makes your one-shotting potential a lot weaker, which hurts his ganks. So it's like one or the other. He's just not the ideal jungler, but nevertheless, still a top S tier jungler. Now, a jungler that is like one of my personal favorites is Zed. For me, Zed is S plus tier, but I have to look at the general picture. Now, I'm a really, really good Zed. So of course, for me, Zed is S plus tier, but I know for like the average player, if we take like the average player with all the champions, Zed would not rank in the S plus tier. You really have to know what you're doing on Zed to make it worth it. He has one of the best ganks, one of the strongest assassinating potential, one of the best mobility ability in the game. So he has it all really. He has great securing of objectives as well. Great jungle clear too. So he's a very, very strong jungle champion really. Talon is very good as well. Even with the nerfs, he got nerfed like 3 times I think, but he's still very strong. Like he genuinely is. His second ability got nerfed recently, but it's still fine. He can one-shot people like crazy still later on in the game. He can dash around all the time. But I do have to say, Talon requires a very strong heart, strong-willed player to like go for the crazy turret dives, the crazy plays, and then escape by jumping over walls left and right. Xin Zhao is kind of a boring champion, I would say, but he's very strong. You know, it can't be ignored how strong Xin Zhao really is in the game right now. You know, Diana is the same story. She's not really boring, but like she's going a little bit under the radar too. But the funny thing is Diana is also that type of champion when like people kind of pick her up again, they notice like, hey, wait a minute, Diana is still extremely powerful. Why am I not playing her? And I'm telling you guys right now too, Diana is still extremely powerful. Definitely comfortably sitting in the S tier, if not the S plus tier even. Like low-key, she could potentially even be S plus tier, definitely possible. Aatrox again, you know, chilling in the low mid tier of the S tier. He's nothing special. He's just fine. You know, he can gank the enemy ADC really well, but and like the mid lane too. But like the bruisers, he can't do much against them. I don't know. It's just really a bit of an underwhelming. Again, he's S tier. Don't get me wrong. Like S tier champions are better than average, but doesn't really belong in the S plus tier. Shyvana is good because she takes down a lot of the tanks. And she's just overall quite nice, but what Shyvana struggles against is speed. If an enemy is very speedy, she can't really catch them up. And I noticed a bit of a trend of people going for the Ghost enchant. Like, you know, you'll see a Jinx with Flash and Ghost. You'll see a Jhin with Flash and Ghost. You'll see a Caitlyn with Flash and Ghost. It's a bit of a trend that actually counters Shyvana. If an enemy uses Ghost, you as a Shyvana, you're fast too. But Ghost is just a tad bit faster. So you're going to be chasing down that enemy, chasing them down. And if you're not basic attacking them, you're losing so much damage per second. Because the whole way that Shyvana kills an enemy is by constant basic attacks. Constant usage of the first ability to apply double on-hit effects. You constantly want to, you know, attack the enemy to reset your first ability. That's why her movement speed ability of her second ability is extremely important. But if you cannot actually hit an enemy and you're just chasing them, that's where it goes wrong with Shyvana. Camille jungle, very good. Her jungle clear is okay. Her ganking is exceptional with her ultimate. And of course, her late game carry is very, very nice. She does tend to struggle early on with fights and whatnot, even during the first dragons. But like she just skills like crazy in the late game. She has good securing of objectives with her second ability. So she's just overall an okay jungler. Nunu is also okay. He has great ganking too. And the good thing about him is he has great ganking. He has great ganking against enemies that have good mobility too. So like for example, Lucian, if Lucian dashes backwards, he literally just keeps going with his snowball. If Azrael's dashing backwards, he just keeps going with his snowball. Enemies cannot run away because he just keeps running behind their turret with the snowball. And then when he hits them with the snowball, you have the aftershock rune, which allows you to pretty much tank 2 turret shots for free. And then you can heal up with your first ability and you can ult. So the good thing about Nunu is you can dive deep. And I really suggest you pick him with champions that can follow up these deep ganks very well. So think about Katarina. Think about like potentially like an Akali, Irelia, maybe even a Zed. Just so like you don't really want to pick him with like an Orianna or something like that. That's like a very slow champion, you know. You want to pick him with like big boom damage. Maokai jungle is okay. His jungle clear is a little bit lackluster now. It's just okay. It's really nothing special. It's just okay. Volibear jungle is okay too. He does good damage. Great ganks. Possibly even better than Lee Sin, because obviously you can turn off a turret for 5 seconds. I mean, no other champion can do that. So very, very good jungler. Amumu, bit of an underrated jungler. Very good in like competitive wildlift. I streamed a tournament recently and Amumu was like one of the most picked junglers in there. It's just the true damage that he provides to his team is very good. His tankiness is very good. He's pretty much the only jungler that can get away with buying a Sunfire Aegis and just do a lot of damage with it. Kindred jungle, a little bit lackluster, but still okay-ish, still decently strong. Just nothing special really. With her nerfs, she sucks a little. Well, she doesn't suck, but she's like okay. Now on to the A tier for the average junglers. Echo is fine, he's okay. Kayn, I played Kayn today. Red Kayn is very strong still, but definitely not as strong as before. And that's because of his second ability. They nerfed the AD ratio of his second ability by 20%. It went from 130%, I believe, to 110. This destroyed Kayn. But I would say he's like average now. Just nothing special. Just your average jungler. Blue Kayn, however, is like really not good. I would say only Red Kayn is playable right now. Blue Kayn just doesn't hurt much anymore with the second ability. But it was Giga broken before, so I would say he's balanced now. This jungle is fine, it's okay, it's just really nothing special, he's just fine. He has a great ultimate, he has good ganking. Late game, when he gets like 5 items, he can steamroll the enemy. But he struggles a little bit early on in the game with fighting these other junglers. But besides that, he's okay. Yone jungle, I would only suggest you to play Yone jungle if you're like an extremely good Yone. You have to be able to properly time your tornadoes so you can gank with it, because otherwise you're never getting any kills with him. Like you have to stack up your tornado on a buff, blue buff or something, and then use your third ability, tornado the enemy, and then ult an enemy, ult the same enemy you tornadoed, and then kill them. That's the only way you can reliably gank, but it's so difficult. Like, if it doesn't already sound difficult, let me assure you it is extremely difficult. Morgana jungle is fine. You can't really easily do the double jungle clear anymore, the super duper fast Morgana clear, because it got changed like a year ago the way jungle behaves. So unfortunately you can't really do it reliably anymore. You can still take the blue buff and the Gromp at the same time, but it's just so difficult. It's like a near frame perfect thing now. It's just not reliable. Mundo jungle, same story as Mundo top. Mundo jungle used to be like one of my favorites, but then again, you know, now, especially jungle, you can't go hardstyle jungle, you have to go Sunfire Aegis. It's just useless. It just really doesn't do much anymore. Jarvan jungle only really viable because of his ultimate, I suppose. His ultimate reduces the enemy's damage by like 15%, and you can just catch an enemy with your ult, force them to flash, I guess. But the good thing about him now, and this was buffed about him recently, is his third ability actually gives a lot of attack speed to your teammates. This is something a lot of people overlook when they play Jarvan, but when you put down your third ability, it gives a lot of attack speed in quite a wide range to your teammates, which can be very, very good during team fights. Tryndamere jungle, a lot better than Baron lane, but still like nothing special. His ultimate is okay, but there's just so much to counter him, like a lot of knockbacks, knockups. You know, think about Maokai, Janna. There's just a lot that counters him very, very, very hard. So I would just say he's not a strong champion right now. Think about like Mordekaiser as well. When Tryndamere is about to ult, Mordekaiser can literally just take him into the Rayon, wait for like 5 seconds while he's in Brazil, and just finish him off. Yeah, because Mordekaiser ult lasts for 7 seconds. Shen jungle, it's fine. It's just nothing special. The only reason that it's like average is because you can just choose to ult whoever is the strongest carry in your team. But I never really like to make my teammates carry the game. I don't really trust them. I want to carry myself, and Shen can't really carry himself. He's like very reliant on his teammates. Rammus also, same story. Sunfire Aegis just doesn't really work well anymore, so Rammus has fallen off quite a bit. Kill jungle is okay, but just like you can just get invaded like crazy. It takes way too long to get yourself to adequate levels to be able to properly do something. You're gonna lose the first 2 dragons, so you have to take the 3rd dragon. It's just, you know, you're putting yourself in such a difficult position when you play kill jungle. You could much rather pick like a Mordekaiser and skill to the late game anyways, or like a Lilia or AP Jax, and you'll be a lot stronger early game with those picks. Pantheon fell off like crazy. Irelia jungle, really not that good. Fiddlesticks is sort of a similar story to Diana. He is definitely not that bad, but I don't know. In the current meta with I was gonna say Aatrox, but with Mordekaiser being released, he also counters him really hard. Like when you ult in as a Fiddlesticks, Mordekaiser can just take you to Brazil, and your ult will just be useless. So there's just a lot of tools and a lot of things that just counter out the Fiddlesticks. But don't get me wrong, he's okay. Graves is a little bit better than some people may think. I believe I uploaded a Graves video on my HellsDevil Plus channel. You can find the link in the description, by the way, to the HellsDevil Plus channel. I upload every day. I've even uploaded 2 videos a day for the last couple of days on that channel. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. I'm just checking if I've already uploaded the Graves video. Yeah, I have. I uploaded the Graves video like 3 days ago. So check it out if you haven't already. Graves is quite okay. Stronger than you may think. Rengar kind of sucks right now. Wukong, I've never seen him and I never want to see him. The Wukong rework absolutely destroyed him. He's terrible. Pretty much unplayable, terrible. Renekton jungle bad, Warwick jungle bad, Jace jungle bad, Fiora jungle bad. Nyla jungle sucks right now. She's not as strong as before anymore. The meta just doesn't suit her. And Twitch jungle, I made a video about Twitch jungle as well on my HellsDevil Plus channel. Yeah. Never even think about playing Twitch jungle anymore. It is a giga useless. So next up, the mid lane. There's no champion in the broken tier. I was thinking about putting Akali over there, but she's really not broken tier. She's definitely good though, like don't get me wrong, but if the enemies have tanks that build magic resist, I don't care how good of an Akali you are, you're not killing that tank. You're just not. Like even if they have like a Viego that builds a Maw of Marmortius, you're already gonna struggle killing him. right? So there is just counterplay against the Akali, especially in the current meta with a lot of the bruiser and tank picks that go hard steel. They can just build one magic resist item and you're just never killing them when you play Akali. But still, S plus tier because she's extremely strong. I'm only explaining to you guys why she's not broken tier. Like in the early mid game, you can kill those tanks, but if you don't win the game and you get to the late game and the tanks stack up their hard steals, they buy the spirit visages, the forces of natures. Yeah, you're not killing them anymore. Zed mid lane, nearly as strong as Akali. It's like the male equivalent of Akali. Or the physical, why am I saying male equivalent? The physical damage equivalent of Akali. Does sort of a similar thing. But it's like more single target burst, and Akali is more like team-wide. She also has single target burst, obviously, but after that Akali can do more team-wide damage as well. But Zed is a little bit more mobile, I would say. Honestly, very similar. Like they're actually very similar. They both can gank quite well. They both can shove the wave quite well, and they both can bully very squishy mid laners with long range really well too. Khazrin is a bit of a different story. He skills really hard to the late game, but he sucks early game. But Khazrin is very, very strong right now. He does so much damage. He has crazy utility as well, can constantly dash around, and unlike Akali and Zed, he can actually keep going in fight. He has constant damage. It's not like one kill and then it's over. He has constant damage. And in the later stages of the game, he rivals Akali and Zed with the amount of burst damage that he does. But he can do it again in 5 seconds, right? So that's the, not even 5 seconds, like 3 seconds, while Zed and Akali can only do it once. That's the difference between the two. Lissandra got nerfed a little bit, but honestly the nerf hurts her more than I thought it would. I've seen a lot of Lissandra. I've played Lissandra after a nerf as well, and she feels a lot weaker than before. Like the nerf was only like 5% damage on the first ability and 5% on the second ability and a little bit of flat damage, but it feels like a lot more. I don't know, like it just feels like she's been nerfed a lot more than that. So yeah, but again, she's S plus tier. She's almost top of S plus. She's still very strong. The self-stasis ability is extremely good. The fact that she can insta-stun an enemy and then root that same enemy right after that is so powerful. It just allows you to catch out anyone. And if an assassin wants to dive her, she can either stasis herself or she can stun the assassin. So she counters assassins as well. Next up is Yasuo. See, Yasuo in the mid lane is a bit of a different story. Yone is better top lane, Yasuo is better mid lane. The brothers don't like to play in the same lane, so yeah, Yasuo is very strong in the mid lane. You have to be good though with dashing through minions and whatnot. But like once you buy some items, he's gonna be an absolute menace to deal with, especially if you combine him with a lot of knockouts. See, Yasuo did get indirectly nerfed because Wukong is useless now. Wukong Yasuo was like one of the strongest combos in the game. Even Malphite is not that strong anymore, so like that's, and even Alistar as well. So that's the only downside, I would say, that a lot of the champions that synergize well with Yasuo kind of suck right now, but he's still okay. Twisted Fate got nerfed a little bit recently, but is still very much chilling in the mid S plus tier. The fact that he can just constantly stun enemies and just poke them all the time, the fact that he can gank whenever he wants, wherever he wants, at any, like, boom, he's in bot lane, right, is so powerful. If you can just time your ganks well, you're going to be able to get so many kills for free. And besides that, his third ability and his passive are going to give him so much more gold, which allows you to buy items a lot more quickly than the enemy champion. So it's just overall a very good champion. With the nerf of First Strike though, it hurts him a little bit, but you can still go Fleet Footwork or Electrocute. Both are very good. Next up is Diana mid lane. Very powerful, but like no one plays her. No one plays her, and I just don't understand why. I don't get it. She's so damn powerful, and people just don't play her. She's S plus tier in the mid lane, guys. Syndra, very strong as well. She has fallen from the broken tier to the S plus tier. She's gotten nerfed a couple of times, but she's still very obnoxious to deal with, especially if she builds like a Crown of the Shattered Queen second item. She's gonna lack a little bit of damage, but you're just never gonna kill her because she can push you away as well constantly. And once she gets her maximum stacks, when she gets that bonus AP and upgrades all of her abilities, it's so difficult to deal with her. She becomes super powerful, especially that ultimate is so strong if she hits it with all of her balls. Zoe is okay too. Wouldn't say she's that special. She's just really good. Like a really good Zoe can still 1v9 games like crazy. Yone mid lane, wouldn't say it's as strong as the top lane, because in the mid lane, Blade of the Doom King is not going to be as useful as in the top lane. It's still really good, don't get me wrong, I'm just going to adjust my position. So, I don't really recommend him much in the mid lane. He's, don't get me wrong, still S plus tier, right? Still very good, but you can't really expect to carry the game easily with Yone mid lane, because you're going to be against these mobile mid laners that can just dodge your ultimate, dodge your tornadoes and everything. It's not like you're playing against a bruiser that can't dodge around much, because generally bruisers are not as mobile as these mid lane champions that can just dodge around all the time. Brand, one of the most underrated mid laners in the game. So many people think Brand sucks, but he's giga strong. He's one of the only mid laners that can reliably take down a full team, even if they're all tanky with like 8,000 HP. You build a Liandry's, your passive, you have two passives that do HP based damage. His burning does 3% damage, so whenever you hit an ability on an enemy champion, you're gonna do the ability damage plus 3% of their HP as magic damage. And then obviously the explosion after you hit an enemy with 3 abilities, it does like 20-25% of their maximum HP in the later stages of the game, and it explodes, does AoE damage to enemy champions. What else do you need in a champion, right? He's very, very powerful. Morgana mid lane doesn't have that explosive burst damage or anything like that, but she drains you over time, especially later on in the game. And you know what the beauty of Morgana is early game as well? She's a very good anti-gank champion. If you try to dive her, she just puts a black shield on herself, roots you under the turret, and then she ults you. You're guaranteed to die. You can't really gank a Morgana. It's so difficult. So she's like a very nice and safe champion to pick to get to the late game and then carry the game. Same could be said about Orianna, but Orianna doesn't do it as well as Morgana. Orianna is a little bit more prone to ganks because she doesn't have any major CC ability, but Orianna obviously has a lot more damage than Morgana. So Orianna is a bit more reliable in a sense where she can do more damage. But I would say in the current meta, Morgana is just going to be a tad bit better. After that we get Ziggs. Ziggs has the most damage out of all of them and the highest range, but it's not as reliable as the Orianna, the damage. And his ultimate feels a little bit lackluster, I would say. I don't know. And his passive feels a little bit lackluster too. And the old passive did so much more damage for Ziggs. It allowed him to be so much stronger in lane. But now, unfortunately, in lane he's a little bit weaker than before because of the adjustment to his passive. Katarina is not as strong as before anymore. I don't know, it just feels like there's so much CC available in the game right now to counter Katarina. QSS doesn't help her much either. Now, Crown of the Shattered Queen does help, of course, but still, I really feel like Katarina is not where she used to be anymore. She just doesn't do that much damage anymore either. Vladimir mid lane is quite good too. His ult is very strong. He can just win most mid lanes in the early game because he heals up with his first ability. And in the late game, of course, he's ridiculously powerful. But I would say it takes quite a long time to get to the stage of the game where you can absolutely 1v9. I would say he needs to get like 4 items until he can like reliably carry the game. Now Irelia, on the other hand, starts carrying all the way from level 1. Irelia falls off a little bit in the late game, but she is an absolute menace to deal with in the mid lane. If you're playing like Twisted Fate or Lissandra or Brand or whatever, like if you're playing any of the champions above, you are gonna struggle against Irelia, against a good Irelia. I would say Irelia is one of the most difficult mid laners to play in the game, just one of the most difficult champions overall to play in Wild Rift. But if you are a good Irelia, you can absolutely steamroll people still in the current meta. But she will struggle late game against like Enchanter supports or even like CC supports like Thresh and whatnot. She will just struggle in most late games. Lucian mid lane. Lucian fell off quite a lot. Again, indirectly, he just doesn't fit the draft, the meta much. He just doesn't really fit the meta. What can I say? Talon mid is okay. Gragas mid is okay. Swain mid is quite good, but wouldn't say it's like anything special, even with the buffs to him. It's just okay. Veigar mid is better than you think. He does so much damage. Veigar is definitely better than what I'm rating him. He's like somewhere here. It could be because I'm a really good Veigar, but I genuinely think like Veigar is extremely strong. If you just get enough stacks in the late game with your Electrocute, if you just hit your stun on one enemy, it's an instant one-shot. Like whoever you hit it on, unless it's like a tank with 5k HP, instant one-shot. Jace, I don't like Jace. I mean, he's okay, he's fine, he's decently strong, I guess, but like I just really don't like Jace. Don't think he's that strong, so I put him in the A tier. Galio counters some of the top picks. You know, counters the Akali, counters the Diana, counters the Kazarin. But it's like nothing special right now either. He's really not that good right now. Echo mid is okay. Aurelion Sol fell off quite a lot with all of the nerfs that he got. The most recent nerf hurt him the most. Like his first ability doesn't hurt much anymore. His ultimate doesn't really hurt that much anymore. Overall, he really doesn't scratch the surface of what he used to be, which is fine. Like I would say he's like okay now. Akshan is stronger than you would think. Nothing special, but he's very strong. But the thing about Akshan is he's extremely difficult to play, and the payoff is just not really worth it because of how difficult he really is to play. Zyra mid, okay, but like nothing special. You gotta be careful picking Zyra because the enemy can just pick Veigar and stack on your plants. So just a little bit, be careful about that. No one seems to abuse this little trick. Like I'm the only one that always picks Veigar into Zyra for some reason. But just a quick tip to you guys, if the enemy ever picks Zyra, just pick Veigar and you're gonna get so many stacks for free. Lux is okay. Her burst damage is not as good as it used to be before, but she's just okay. Corki, meh. Fizz, meh. Pyke mid lane doesn't work anymore. Seraphine mid lane, you only pick it into melee champions. Vex is not good. Ahri is not good. Cannon mid, never play it anymore. Cannon used to be the highest win rate mid laner, in case you're wondering, in China, by the way. But since the ult got nerfed so much, because he had the highest win rate in China, he's terrible now, especially mid lane. Annie, don't play Annie. I had like a 45-minute Annie game. Yet again, gonna be uploaded on the HellsDevil Plus channel. Link is in the description, or just look up HellsDevil Plus. I had a 45-minute Annie game. The old Annie would absolutely 1v9, but I was having so much trouble in that 45-minute game. Talking about 45 minutes, this video is going on for 45 minutes as well. So, yeah. When I was in that 45-minute game, I noticed that Annie is definitely not as strong as she used to be. Kill is also not very good. Now we get to the shorter tier list, which is going to be the ADC one. So, no ADC is broken tier. Varus used to be broken tier for me because of on-hit Varus, but he doesn't feel that strong anymore with the on-hit build for some reason. Perhaps people kind of figured out that on-hit Varus is really good and they kind of know how to play against it, but he's definitely still very strong and S+ tier worthy. Ezreal is sitting on top of the ADC tier list because he's so mobile, he has so much damage, he can take down tanks with his Bladed Rune King, very good against squishies, his ult is good, just overall a very solid pick to play. Early game he doesn't really struggle, late game he can 1v9, he really has it all. Sorry. Like very good sustained damage, just everything. Kai'Sa also, like, very similar to Ezreal, very, very powerful. But the only problem, Kai'Sa only really has one problem, which is her range. Now, okay, I know she can poke with her second ability, but it's really not as much of a poke, not as reliable as Ezreal's first ability. But to get into basic attack range, you're gonna get into the danger zone as a Kai'Sa. And I would say that's the only danger she really has. But her third ability makes her invisible, her ult allows her to jump. She's still very, very, very powerful. Next up is Varus. I just talked about Varus as well. You know, you can go lethality Varus, you can go on-hit Varus. All of them are going to be very good, except for AP Varus. AP Varus got nerfed like crazy. Don't play it anymore. So yeah, I just talked about him. Jhin also S+ tier. He got buffed quite a lot recently, and he's just very strong. Especially because you can build a Stormrazor now too. Jhin is just very good. You can reliably get over 800 attack damage if you get full build now on Jhin. So, which is going to do a lot of damage. And his ult feels so much better too than before because of the buff. Xayah is really good as well and definitely worthy of being in the S+ tier alongside the other ADCs. She works really well against diving champions. But not only that, just overall she's very, very strong. She just does so much damage. She can chase down enemies. And of course she can ult whenever she's about to die. Just overall very good champion. She bullies enemies early game as well with her first ability and with the third ability. If you hit that third ability early on in the game, you're gonna win most matchups. Now, a champion that doesn't win most matchups is Tristana. But when she gets to the late game, and I would say level 9 is where she really starts to get strong, that's when her range will really exceed most ADCs. Just her range will really start to carry her at that point. And then, of course, the later you get, the better it gets. And the good thing about Tristana is she has one of the best wave clearers in the game. And when you do get like a small win in lane, she can translate it into a big lead by putting her third ability on the turret, exploding it, taking like 2 turret plates at least, and of course clearing the entire wave while attacking the turret. So that's the good thing about Tristana. If you're able to just shove your wave under the enemy turret and put your third ability on the turret, you're gonna get yourself hundreds of golds ahead immediately. Now Sivir got buffed, and yeah, she is very strong. And yet again, for some apparent reason, almost no one is playing Sivir, even though she's like one of the strongest ADCs in the game. She's sitting in the high S tier. And I'm telling you guys, Sivir, if not S plus tier, by the way, she's so powerful. She does so much damage. The utility she provides to her team as well is so good. The movement speed. The thing is, the movement speed counters so many things. You guys remember when I was talking about Shyvana and all of these other champions that don't really like movement speed? Well, Sivir has that movement speed for a long time, like for like a long time, especially if you reset that ultimate, which gives you even more movement speed. Kalista as well, she counters that movement speed type of stuff, but she fell off a little bit. She's just okay. She's nothing special. She's just fine. Jinx, she's okay too, but Jinx requires a very strong enchanter support duo queue, I would say. So in solo queue, she's a little bit lower, but if she has a really good duo queue, I would rate her like higher up in the S tier. Now Zeri is a bit more of a safe champion. You can just play the lane safe, land your first ability on the enemy, bully them. Mid game she becomes extremely powerful. In the very late game she's still very strong, but some of the ADCs outscale her in the late game, like Ezreal, Kai'Sa, Xayah, Varus, Tristana, Sivir. All of these ADCs outscale Zyra really hard in the late stages of the game. Samira, same story as Jinx. Very good in duo queue, but like not good with enchanter. She's very good with like engage supports, like a Blitzcrank, like a Thresh, Pike, stuff like that. She's very good with that, but it's very high risk, high reward when you play Samira. If you play her in solo queue, you're gonna be reliant on your random players. It's a little bit annoying because Samira does really actually rely on having CC on her team, having someone reliably land CC, because she can follow it up with the knock-up, of course. Same story with Draven, heavily reliant on the duo queue support, so like I just don't really recommend him in solo queue at all. In duo queue, he would be a lot higher up in the S tier, not in the S plus tier. Well, actually maybe S plus tier, like duo queue, probably bottom S plus tier. Yet again, Lucian is nothing special in the current meta, he's just okay. Caitlyn is fine too. If she falls behind, she's useless, but she's very fast, she's very mobile, she counters a lot of the bruiser types of champions that try to chase her down. Senna, you can pick her with like a tank and go carry Senna. It's okay, but it's like nothing special. Miss Fortune is playable now. Miss Fortune always used to be like C tier on my tier list. Only like 2 years ago was she very strong in duo queue, not in solo queue. But in solo queue now, Miss Fortune is a lot better with the new kit. Ashe, don't really play Ashe anymore, she's not good. Orianna, Ziggs, Vayne is terrible now, by the way. You really don't want to play Vayne right now, unless you have like a Lulu in your team. And Twitch and Nyla, never pick them. Next up, lastly, is going to be the support list. So Yuumi, even with all the nerfs, still S plus tier. She's not broken tier anymore though, like she definitely isn't even close to being broken tier. The nerfs hit her quite hard, but still S plus tier. If you have a Yuumi on top of you, it's gonna be so much easier to carry the game. It doesn't matter how nerfed she is. Same story with Lulu. Very similar to Yuumi. Maybe even stronger, like low-key even stronger than Yuumi. Just all of the buffs she provides, the ultimate, the shielding, the attack speed buff, everything. Even her basic attacks are very annoying early game, right? Because of the pixie that she has. But Lulu, just pretty much the strongest enchanter you can have by your side. Soraka, very strong as well. It either forces all of the enemies to buy anti-heal, which makes them spend like thousands of gold just to counter you, or they just have to deal with your healing, which is like unplayable. So as a Soraka, you basically put the enemies on like negative 3000 gold at least, because a lot of them are gonna have to buy anti-heal. So that's the thing with Soraka. Janna, very good as well. And anti-heal doesn't even counter Janna because her shielding is equally, if not even stronger, than her healing potential with the ultimate. But of course, since the rework, Janna has gotten so much stronger because the tornadoes are a lot easier to hit. The only thing that is weaker than the old Janna, I would say, is the second ability. The old Janna had such a disgusting second ability, which did so much damage and was so obnoxious, this slow. But now with the new second ability, it's just really not that strong anymore. But everything else is so much stronger on Janna. So she's just sitting comfortably on the S+ tier. I said the letter S like 20 times in the last 5 sentences. It sounded very weird. Like I'm singing your ears. Thresh is okay. Does get countered by a lot of the top higher tier ADCs like the Kai'Sa and the Ezreal and the Varus actually. But he's okay. Like a good Thresh will be able to deal with it. Just get Protobelt, use Hex Flash. With the nerf to Hex Flash, by the way, it hurt some of the champions as well, like Thresh and like Blitzcrank, for example. Talking about Blitzcrank, still very strong, but like with the range reduction of the Hex Flash, definitely hurt Blitzcrank a lot. He utilized the Hex Flash so much. So overall, he's just okay, but you really gotta be good at Blitzcrank for him to be S+ tier. Swain support, easily S+ tier as well. You just do so much damage while tanking everything as well. Go hardstyle and go ham on the enemies. Absolutely go ham on the enemies. I made a Swain video recently as well, if you haven't seen it already, on my main channel. Pyke support, still very good. A little bit lackluster as opposed to before, but still very much one of the strongest support picks in the game. Nami, very powerful as well, but I wouldn't say she's S+ tier now. I don't know, like it feels like, again, it just feels like everyone is so speedy, so it feels so difficult to land your abilities on them. And also the speed that you provide, because Nami provides speed to her teammates, doesn't feel as valuable anymore. Again, I don't really know why, but it feels like everyone is so speedy in the recent update. Braum, one of the most underrated supports in the game. His shield is very powerful because he can of course block projectiles. His stunning potential is great as well. And he's tanky. This dude is like a human shield. Leona, I don't know, she just doesn't feel that strong anymore either. She has great CC and she's very tanky, but I don't know. It's just not as good as before anymore, unfortunately. She could still definitely carry games, but she seems to be a bit of a redundant champion, if that makes sense. You don't really need that CC and that diving as much anymore. It's just bruisers all over the place and everything. You're just much better off having a Thresh or a Swain or like Janna. And this is also the reason why Pyke has gotten a little bit worse as well, because Pyke was very good against those squishy champions. You could just 1v1 a squishy champion left and right, but now they just don't exist much anymore in the game. With all of the hard steals, all of the bruisers, and all of the everything with the mobility and the movement speed, it just nerfed all of these champions indirectly. Karma as well, like her poking potential is just really not that strong anymore, and the movement speed she provides doesn't feel as valuable anymore as it used to. I don't know, she just doesn't feel that good anymore. Sona, for your average player, Sona is a lot better than before. And don't get me wrong, Sona is actually quite strong now, but I'm never playing Sona anymore. They killed my old Sona. The old Sona would have been so strong now as well, especially with the bruiser meta, but the new Sona just really isn't. Senna support is quite good. You can stack pretty well with Senna support now, since there are so many bruisers. As a Senna, you can just stack on them easily. And Senna does a lot of HP percentage based damage, so she definitely works well into the current meta. Now Lux doesn't, because again, you're not gonna one-shot bruisers, but still Lux is playable as a support. Full AP Malphite in the right draft is playable. Seraphine has gotten up in the tier list because she works very well into the the melee champions. So she's just okay. It's just the champion overall is not that strong. Rakan, I believe, got buffed recently, right? But he still kind of sucks. He's just chilling in the mid A tier. Tank Varus support. I made a video about this like half a year ago or something. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. Just look up HellsDevil Tank Varus and you'll find what I'm talking about. It's going to be unbelievable. If you haven't seen that video yet, it's going to be unbelievable how much damage it does. You're truly not going to believe your eyes. And you're probably going to give it a try yourself. I'm not going to spoil the build in this tier list. I'm just going to tell you to check it out if you haven't already. I should make a video about that on the HellsDevil Plus channel as well. So again, make sure you follow the HellsDevil Plus channel if you haven't already. I'm going to make so many interesting live gameplay videos on that channel. Also, remember the player versus fitness thing. You see those arms? It's not even that big anymore. Like I haven't gone to the gym for a while and I'm lacking a little bit because I'm so busy. But like if I go to the gym and have proper nutrition again, within a week, my biceps are going to get like huge again. The only way you can achieve that is with proper nutrition, proper planning. We offer that to you guys. Again, if you haven't seen that 1-minute advertisement that I did for it, fill in the form below to plan a meeting with me. It's very, very important. Like this changed dozens of people's lives already because we started it like in March or something, and we've already changed dozens of people's lives. And if you don't believe us, check out the Instagram, player versus fitness, player vs fitness. You can see some of the transformations. You can see them in the 60-second integration that I did earlier on in the video. The results speak for themselves. And you don't want to miss out. Like I'm telling you, you don't want to miss out on this. And you know what's funny? Like a little funny thing, I'm going to stop talking about it after that. Most people that are entering the program now are actually around 35 to 40 years old. In the beginning, most people were a little bit younger. They were like around 25 years old. But now we noticed that most people entering now are like around 35 and 40 years old. And another funny little thing, the 35 to 40 year olds and even 45, 50 year olds, they get a lot better results than the younger people. For some reason, they are a lot more disciplined than the younger people. So shout out to, is it millennials or Generation X? I don't know what it is, but shout out to you guys. You guys are getting a lot better results than the young people. So what was I talking about? Veigar support against Zyra. This is the secret pick. I did it once. I demolished the enemy. Not that the support, in my eyes, it's kind of bad. It's really not that good. Anything else talking about? Brand support, great carry. Alistar support, not that good anymore. And honestly, I want to go have some food. It has been an hour. Thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next Wild Rift video. Bye-bye.